you all. In this video, I will demonstrate a technique known as ghost layering, which is quite fascinating. This is a layering method in hair that remains invisible. We all recognize the client with hair that is one length and falls straight down. This method is truly beautiful for applying, as it adds significant volume and movement to the hair. You will also see the latest color trend called Cherry Coke, a stunning cherry red hue. I will demonstrate how I made it at the end of the video.
When using the ghost layering technique, always do this on dry hair. Divide the hair into 3 zones. Zone 3 is at the roots, Zone 2 in the middle, and Zone 1 at the ends. You position your scissors at an angle and don't close them completely. I start in Zone 2 and then move down towards Zone 1. When you can pass through, you can already feel if it's enough, and then you can move on to the next section. It's important to pull the hair diagonally forward at a 45-degree angle, because when the hair falls down, you'll see that it has a kind of uneven length, and it beautifully blends into the shape. Ultimately, you don't want to see layering in this shape. You are truly working within the hair. At the back of the head, I also project the hair forward at that 45-degree angle. But you will see that I am lower in my section 2 and low in my section 1, because that way I will get a bit more hair on the back of my head. You can apply this technique differently for each client. At all times, you will need to feel where you want to remove more weight and where you want to create more movement. That's how you proceed. You can also use this technique very well on fine hair. But when you apply this technique, I will always use your thinning scissors, because then you work just a bit more carefully and remove just a little less hair. For normal to thick hair, I would really work with your scissors. But for fine hair, the thinning scissors are ideal to work with. This doll has a bit more hair at the front, so then I continue with my scissors. I work equally on both sides, therefore it's easy for you to have those zones in your mind so that you can work in the same zone on both sides. Look, here you see me lifting a strand of hair, and I show this deliberately. Why? Because I don't want to create this technique in the top section of the hair. Because I always want the top layer of the hair to fall beautifully over my ghost layering. If you were to apply this technique to wet hair, you would notice that you remove too much hair, which is a shame. So use this technique on dry hair, and only where necessary, that's where you create the ghost layering in the hair. Now the last section at the back. Look, and you can also see that I don't include the top layer of hair from my section. Well, if you want to create a bit more movement at the front, you can pick up the triangle. And then, at the underside of your section, you also use a slicing technique to cut. You don't fully close your scissors, but always use this technique at the underside of your section. Make the fringe section a bit wider. Look, and then again open the scissors and work towards the tip. With this technique, your client retains the hair length, but you really create more volume and movement in the hair, making it fall a bit more playfully. The trend we're seeing a lot on TikTok in terms of color is Cherry Coke, and I'm going to create this color for you. For that, I use the soft shades from Kiss and use the Cherry Coke. 20cc 05C, then 20cc violet mix. In conclusion, I utilize 40cc of red mix. You may be wondering, isn't that excessive? However, that doll head genuinely drinks in the color. I'm going to make it with the DMI, and I'll make it 1:1. I consciously choose the DMI because I want to apply this technique with a brush. When you mix the soft shades with the DMI, your mixture becomes thicker, making it easier to apply with a brush. If you use this bottle, I would definitely continue using the soft shades activator. But you can already see here that my mixture is slowly getting thicker, And as a result, when I apply it with a brush, the color penetrates the hair just a bit deeper. You can see it here too. I really have a thicker gel-like substance. TikTok nowadays has a lot of influence on the hair color that clients want. One moment it's cowboy copper, the next it's cherry coke. But a customer often wants to change. I could easily dye this hair with hair dye, for example, the Kira cream from Kis. But then it's much more difficult the next time the client comes and wants a different color again. The soft shades is an ammonia-free coloring and gives you much more freedom as a hairdresser when your client wants something different next time, because this color is much easier to remove than when you work with real dye, for example. Well, when I apply the color, I work with a 4-section division. And then I first apply the roots thoroughly and then move on to the lengths. When I apply this color to a client's hair, I will always use a cape and a dye collar. And when the hair is very long, I also like to put a plastic dye collar over it, because you always want to protect the clothing, of course. Well, when I apply the soft shades with the brush, I always work in a 4-section division. And then I first apply the first 10 centimeters of the roots before going back to apply all the ends. Also work with narrow sections to ensure that you cover every hair thoroughly with the soft shades. The doll head has a color level 6, so I don't need to pre-pigment it now. But be careful when your client has lighter colored hair and you're going to work with the cherry cover color. You'll really need to pre-pigment it first, which can be easily done with our glam wash. I would definitely use the cherry from the glam wash to pre-pigment the hair first. Well, you can see there's a little bit of color on the face, which can also happen with your client. But we have the hair color remover wipes from Kis, which you'll see shortly on screen. These wipes make it very easy to remove the color from the face. Make sure to do this for your client, because once it has set for 20 minutes, it becomes difficult to remove. Always work carefully and neatly. Now from here, I start at the bottom and apply the product to the ends, which I can just let hang like this. At the clients, it could then be placed on the paint collars or the plastic cape. But always make sure to apply everything neatly and precisely. Once I've applied everything properly, make sure to work the soft shades into the ends to ensure every strand is covered. Once the entire color is applied, I let it sit for 20 minutes. I then wash it out. However, I will always use shampoo to remove the last traces of color from the scalp and everything else. You saw, of course, the final result of the color at the beginning of this video, but this is truly the color trend of the moment, cherry coke. Now, before I continue treating the hair with the curling iron, I will first prep the hair. I will make it firm first because we are dealing with hair of a single length. For this, I use the Kira spray from Kis. It's a hairspray, but it's really a working spray. So it's a soft hairspray, but it really holds the grip well when you start using the iron. I section off the top part, and then I start at the bottom with my curling iron. I take vertical sections, then a fairly thick curling iron goes in without a clip, and I twist it away from the face. I deliberately choose a very coarse one because I want to create a nice flowing movement in the hair shortly. Your client will notice when she has one length hair and you've added that ghost layering that the hair will hold much better. That's really due to the shorter lengths you've incorporated. And the beauty is, you don't see the layers. It blends in completely. Once you've done the lower section, you can move to the upper section, and you can also see that my curling iron doesn't stay in for long. I just add a smooth motion. When I then comb through the hair, I use a very coarse comb with a few teeth. Then just lightly comb through and look, you can really see a nice movement in it. There's volume, so now you can offer that to the client with straight hair. I hope you all enjoyed it and wish you all the best of luck.